let me tell you, not that I feel strongly about this, but I think there is actually a law here. One of the great truths of selling is that you cannot have one sales force which is doing both. You cannot. It doesn't work. I have no doubt about this. I have never seen it work, and when we've done something about sales forces like that, it's been generally beneficial. Let me take you through the logic and then show you a case. Firstly, there's an economic reason. I cannot believe that anyone in this room has enough people capable of making consultative sales. We haven't got enough people. Those we have can command very, very good remuneration, and you are off your rocker if you use that kind of person to sell to a transactional customer where frankly they make no difference. You're using your best resource where it has no impact, and that is economically stupid and unforgivable, because we are resource constrained, and we just don't have enough resources, and to use them where they don't have an impact is crazy. Not that I feel strongly about this, you understand. But to me that's not the most important reason. My background is in psychology, and I find the psychological reason even more compelling. And the psychological reason is when salespeople have both opportunities, they always give too much attention to the transactional. If you've got the potential of a big sale in 15 months' time, if you really work on building up the needs and building support for your ideas within the organization, and it's going to be a big sale with a lot of advice and help, you also have a few quick hits you can make this month. I know where you'll put your attention this month, especially if you're being compensated on the basis of your sales results. So the big consultative sale gets shortchanged always at the expense of the quick hit. Now, I want to advise you that you really have to do something that is easy to say, but is one of the most difficult things in business to do. You have to separate that out. And I want to give you a little case study of doing it, because it illustrates some of the problems you encounter here. And this is a case in Oracle. Oracle sold two product lines. They sold a highly transactional product line called Database. It was a licensed product. It was a bums on seats. People bought 7 database licenses. It was highly transactional. Customers knew exactly what they were getting. They didn't need help or advice, but they were selling a lot of it. But unfortunately, that's a product which was getting sort of late in its life cycle. Where Oracle saw the future was in its applications products. Sophisticated software that took a year or more to sell, highly consultative. So, what happened? They were selling both, and predictably, I think, they sold a lot of database. But they were losing market share on these all-important consultative products. Now, the way I would say it was that the strategic sale was being damaged by the much more tactical short-term business. Larry Ellison, as the crazy and strange but quite brilliant chairman of Oracle, put it to me another way. In his usual colorful language, he said, "The problem with my sales guys is they're so busy knocking off gas stations that they never get to rob the bank." Well, I couldn't have put it better. That's exactly what happens. They, on their way to rob the bank, they were continually being diverted by being able to take a few dollars from a convenience store, Now, that's not an elevated professional kind of way of putting it, so I wouldn't put it that way. But yeah, I can see what he's talking about. Everyone in Oracle recognized it was a problem. And so we took the database sales away from the sales force and sold them through cheaper channels, through the internet, through Oracle Store, through distribution, telesales. Now, these are the important words. It says here, despite initial sales force opposition. That is the understatement of the millennium. I thought I was going to be assassinated in Oracle as being associated as one of the drivers of this. And if you try and do this in your sales force to try to move the transactional business out from under and give it to cheaper channels, which is what you should do, you will have huge internal opposition. Salespeople hate giving up any opportunity at all. You're taking bread from their mouths, you're starving their children, you are doing immoral and dishonest acts. And you're being stupid. Because what the salespeople said to us is, hey, we need the database product, how else would we get in the door? The database gets us easily in the door, it's a transactional product, it gets us into first contact, and when we're there we build up the more sophisticated needs. And I'd say, nice try. Very nice try. Show me some results from this strategy that you've been pursuing for the last 3 years. Why then are you losing market share in the applications products when competitors who don't have an easy entry transactional product are taking your lunch? So don't give me the bullshit. We cannot do it this way. So after this huge opposition, we implemented, and here's what happened. In 18 months, sales of the applications products tripled. And the market share loss was reversed. They began to regain market share, as is sort of well known for anyone who studies Oracle's rise from that trough they went into. But the interesting thing was database sales didn't increase, but they became significantly more profitable because they weren't being sold to very expensive salespeople anymore. And so that's a fairly typical study. When you've done a piece of work like that once or twice, as I have, you come to understand, boy, it works. And you do get very critical of people who say, yeah, we can do both. Because the answer is, yes, you can do both, but you shouldn't do both. So my recommendation to you is try always to take the transactional business away and focus your face-to-face sales force on consultative opportunities. But I know full well that if you do that, you will have huge opposition in your organizations from people who say it's a stupid strategy. I think you have to be confident that if you do that, you're going to get better results. And in the end, if you talk to Oracle salespeople now that they're much more successful and the average salesperson is selling 2.5 times as much in terms of volume as they were selling back in those days, that they'd say, wow, glad we did it. But at the time it didn't feel good. So watch out for that. Let's have a look at beginning to extend these ideas into marketing. What's happened if I want to talk to marketing people, I find I have to talk in non-sales language. That is, I don't cuss quite as much, and I use terms like value propositions. 5 years ago, a value proposition which said, we offer you a little bit of help and advice in exchange for a slightly better margin. That actually worked. The reason why it worked was most customers were in the middle. That's what they welcomed. That's how you get the customer in the middle. They're neither highly transactional nor highly consultative. So give them a little bit of help and advice and they'll be happy. But as those customers have gone away, the value propositions that work are one of two. Either it'll be cheap and standardized, or we'll go in depth. We'll bring in expertise and we'll solve your problems. And the fact is, if you're going to succeed, you have to do that. Anyone who put their hand up to both, we are treated more as a commodity, and put their hand up to our customers are demanding more expertise and depth, is basically saying we can't use the same value proposition for both customers. We have to do something that splits that. And you have to have marketing thinking with you to bring about that kind of change.